Every crisis presents a chance to reframe reality and create new opportunities. For example, the pandemic led to hyper-digitalization of many industries. How do you expect the gears to shift on further on this digital transformation?
The last 2 years, we've seen significant acceleration of the digitization transformation, which probably started across the industries probably 3 to 4 years ago. The companies which were actually transformed themselves digitally have seen much higher returns in terms of 3 to 5x compared to the companies which we haven't. And there's a lot more opportunity to continue driving that transformation. With emergence of new technologies, we spoke about metaverse, we spoke about digital assets, we spoke about blockchain as an underlying technology, will create a lot more opportunities to drive this further.
I take that view that Russia has turned away from Europe, is looking into Asia and Middle East, and so those places are going to be happening for many years to come. Europe, I think, will suffer for a while, but it will recover like all societies do. Right now, the green agenda isn't going to work because they have to resort back to coal and nuclear. But in time to come, I'm sure it'll be vibrant again. So in the medium term, I'll look at Asia. Long term, maybe also to Asia and Europe.
Well, for me, I'll place attention on Southeast Asia. If you compare back in 2000, almost 20 years ago, trade between Southeast Asia and China is only about 40 billion. Right now, it's 850 billion. 20 times increase over 20 years. That's huge. I think it's very important for businessmen, investors, not to ignore Southeast Asia because the growth trajectory is very clear. It has a huge population, rising income. It will set the solid foundation for the growth of Southeast Asia in the years ahead.
In fact, you spoke about the supply chain issues that the world is facing, and Southeast Asia is actually one of the gainers from that. I mean, we've seen a lot of investment going into Vietnam and some of the other markets in the region, and therefore, I think there is a lot more resilience, and it's been now domestically driven GDP. So therefore, I think a huge opportunity exists in front of us in Southeast Asia, and sustainability will actually create a lot more opportunities too. What's happening in Russia creates a lot more opportunity for us, for this region. I'll also talk about sustainability, geothermal energy. I mean, Indonesia and Philippines are the second and third largest markets after US. Similarly, solar. I mean, Vietnam is investing heavily into solar energy. We've seen sort of a 10 gigawatt of sort of capacity were built over last few months and years. So the alternative energy sources, I think, Southeast Asia can play a leading role from sort of what the global economy needs from this transition perspective.
The trend towards energy transition from one that's largely fossil fuel into one that's renewable energy is an enduring trend, it's a long-term trend. Well, higher oil price is a speed bump, but it will not derail that whole transition. In fact, in some areas, it's going to accelerate the transition because of the price differences. So I think that with huge amounts of investments going into renewables, it will reduce its cost, as we've seen how battery prices have fallen significantly over the last 10 years. And I think wind, solar are all extremely ripe for that sort of economics of scale. And if we were to, as a region, start to reconfigure our economy to one that's greener and that has which fits the net zero commitment, it can actually potentially generate $1 trillion of economic opportunity a year for investors. It's not just manifested in energy transition, it's in smarter and more sustainable infrastructure, it's in the electrification of transportation system, it's also in much more sustainable agriculture.
This inflation is different. It is, in a sense, caused by supply issues. If you can't get those things, you have to raise prices. How would rising interest rates actually help? Ideally, government should try to stimulate the supply side, but that is harder. Maybe Asia will pick up a bit because China is coming up. The US will be bogged down by inflation as well. So we'll probably have a two-sector global economy. Okay, but that is the best scenario. The worst scenario, and I'm saying it not because I believe in it 100%, but I think it's possible, otherwise I wouldn't say it. The battle of Ukraine is ending. The battle of Taiwan is beginning. And if that happens, we'll have more turmoil in the next year or two. But it doesn't mean that there are no investment opportunities. There'll be lots. You know what I mean? During the pandemic, those who made gloves, those who make masks, made a lot of money.
Look, I think the next few months are going to be choppy and volatile, as we discussed, given the inflationary pressure. But hopefully, some of the optimists here believe that this will be a couple of quarters, and as we enter 2023, we will be back onto the growth trajectory across the globe. Definitely, there are a few themes as we discussed. Sustainability, for example, is one. Digital transformation, and especially picking some of the right business models, would be a great opportunity as well. So there is light beyond the tunnel. Obviously, next few months will be.
What's clear is that it's not timing the market that's important, it's having time in the market that's much more important. Let the power of compounding interest in a diversified portfolio help you build your wealth over the course of your lifetime. And I think it's not one time buying that portfolio, it's almost kind of setting aside a certain amount of savings each month and put that amount of savings that you're comfortable with to that portfolio and let it grow over time. And I think that strategy and that discipline can tide you through whatever disrupted or volatile market conditions that usually are just short-lived.